We are given the opportunity to listen to alternative programs, no, not the usual programs that we are used to every election time. But for me, also the most improved player, if I may, no, would be of course Senator Manny Pacquiao. He's getting better at this every time, no. But of course, syempre pag medyo mahirap na, no, yung mga tanong katulad no sa LGBTQ ay medyo nahirapan siya, no. But then again, no, in terms of policy questions, no, he is improving a lot.
Mamaya, pag-usapan natin yung particular policies and programs that our candidates mentioned. After the break, we will also look back at more points raised by candidates during the presidential debate. You're watching CNN Philippines. Welcome back to a CNN Philippines special presentation, the Filipino Votes Presidential Debate 2022. Bongbong Marcos, a frequent debate skipper, did not attend today's presidential debate. The Partido Federal ng Pilipinas standard-bearer instead chose to visit Pangasinan to voters. Our Rex Remito is trailing Marcos, and he joins us live from Bayambang Town. Rex, did he say why he chose to campaign instead of to attend the debate today? Go ahead, Rex.
Well, he has yet to grant any interview even on the sidelines of his events. We've been requesting for an interview, but so far it seems that his campaign schedule has been really tight. His spokesperson, Attorney Vic Rodriguez, instead faced us and he reiterated what he said earlier, that Marcos's absence in the debate is because of the conflicts in his schedule. Rodriguez explains that his trip in Pangasinan has been scheduled as early as January 11th and has only been rescheduled due to the surge in cases of the Omicron variant of COVID-19 last January. Although the Marcos camp previously said that instead of debates, they would prefer presidential interviews where Marcos can explain his platform longer and better. For the Marcos campaign, it seems that no minute is being wasted as he does his best to reach as many towns in Pangasinan as possible. He has visited around 20 towns and cities over the weekend, from west to east Pangasinan. Not surprising because it's the country's third most vote-rich province with nearly 2 million voters. But in one of his speeches, although he did not allude to his absence in the CNN Philippines presidential debate, he said he did not want to pick a fight with anybody since all he wanted was for all Filipinos to unite. Unity is the consistent theme of his campaign, and he has been emphasizing this in all of his sorties, way more, some critics say, than his political platform, which he only mentions in passing in his speeches.
Ang mga Pilipino, tayo naman hindi tayo palaaway. Hindi naman tayo naghahanap ng gulo. Hindi natin pinupuntahan yung mga tao at sinasabi, mali kayo, kami lang ang tama.
Marcos's ally in Pangasinan, gubernatorial candidate Monmon Rico, meanwhile, says his presence in his bailiwick only proves that Marcos wants to go on the ground and be with the people. That's why he chose to campaign here instead of attending the presidential debate. We talked to some of his supporters here. For them, there's no need for Marcos to attend the debate.
Para sa akin, okay lang kahit di siya umattend. Kasi kung baga nga kung kaaway mo, yung kaaway mo kasi hindi ka naman niya sasabihan ng ng mabubuti, di ba? Ang sasabihin niya sa'yo, lahat masama.
Nakapokus na kami sa kanya. Napokus na siya naging presidente namin.
But even some Marcos supporters say it's still important for the presidential candidate to show up in the debate.
Kasi bilang isang pangulo, kailangan talaga na nandun siya lagi sa mga
Para po marinig po yung sasabihin po kung ano po yung tama.
Now, Marcos just finished another campaign rally here in Bayambang Town in the southern part of Pangasinan. As to whether Marcos will attend the future debates, whether sponsored by the Commission on Elections or not, is still up in the air. Back to you.
Thank you, Rex Remitio. And let's break down the highlights of the debate. Our senior correspondent, Anjo Alimario, joins us live from UST in Manila. Go ahead, Anjo.
Well, Ruth, let's begin first with the candidates' mere appearance in today's debate. Of course, how difficult is it for them, or how important is it for them to just show up? Well, showing up in debates during these difficult times is a must. That's according to Vice President Leni Robredo. You don't hide, and she said it's also a way to show respect to the electorate. Of course, the lone absentee tonight was survey frontrunner Bongbong Marcos, who declined our invitation. Senator Ping Lacson said debates are a test of a candidate's wisdom and grasp on issues. Characters would be revealed. For Senator Manny Pacquiao, the public gets to see how sincere candidates are during debates. Manila Mayor Isko Moreno said it's like applying for a job where the public the people serve as the human resources department. He said it's difficult to hire someone whom you have not heard speak. One of the most pressing issues right now, of course, that the world is facing is the Russia-Ukraine conflict with an immediate impact on the prices of basic goods in the country. What would they do about it? Lacson said there's a provision in the 2022 budget providing assistance both for the transportation and agriculture sectors. Leody De Guzman pushes for oil regulation, for so big oil companies won't take advantage of this crisis. There should be vigilance and foresight. Robredo says implementation of VAT should be looked into and attend to service contract applications that are pending. Now, is it okay to stay neutral in the ongoing dispute in Russia and Ukraine? Moreno, Ernesto Abella, and Faisal Mangondato agree, but Lacson has a different view. He invoked the UN Charter that we have a duty to condemn such aggression. But for Moreno, the policy should be Filipino first, that safety of our countrymen should be foremost. Candidates were asked about corruption. Was there a specific incident that happened during their watch and how did they deal with it? Manila Mayor Isko Moreno said he was offered 5 million pesos a day after fixing a problem in his city. Senator Panfilo Lacson pointed out that he had never received a bribe, not even reward money, when he was still a police official. Senator Manny Pacquiao said, or she did mention, pork scam queen Janet Napoles, who allegedly tried to involve him in the scheme, but he said he refused to deal with her. It's not enough for politicians to be good, but there has to be a system that will force them to be good. That's the position of Vice President Leni Robredo, who touted her office's highest audit rating from the Commission on Audit. Now, when asked which government agency will they investigate first for corruption during their administration, except for Pacquiao, all candidates picked the Bureau of Customs. They were also asked if excess campaign funds should be returned to donors. All said yes, except Moreno. He explains he's just being consistent. When he ran for the Senate in 2016, he kept 50 million pesos in unused funds, but pointed out that he paid the right taxes on them. Regarding the COVID-19 pandemic, De Guzman said he's disappointed that the president didn't prioritize it immediately, that instead of mobilizing health experts, the military was tapped instead. Now, 2 billion pesos, that's what Pacquiao claimed he has donated to the government's COVID response. Ernesto Abella said he helped in the repatriation of hundreds of thousands of overseas Filipino workers when he was still with the Foreign Affairs Department. Now, the 90-second time limit for Robredo wasn't enough to enumerate the pandemic response of her office, from providing PPEs, transportation, and dormitories to medical frontliners, to free antigen initiatives and free teleconsultations. Now, what about the country's economic recovery? For Lacson, there should be no trade-off between health and the economy. Pacquiao wants to focus on increasing the country's revenue income. Moreno reiterates his plan to cut in half taxes in crude oil. Now, who's going to be their health secretary if elected? Roberto says she will hire someone who is an expert in the field, an excellent manager, and respected by peers. But as the next president, she says she will lead from the front and not just wait for reports, and has to know what's happening on the ground. For Abella, it's all about integrity, intelligence, and energy. Now, Ruth, an interesting candidate tonight is Dr. Jose Montemayor Jr., who confronted De Guzman about his proposed minimum wage of workers in the country. Montemayor asked what about the business owners, but De Guzman rebutted him, arguing that laborers should not be treated as slaves. And Ruth, one of the last few questions asked to the candidates, particularly to Robredo and Marcos, when we played a clip from our 2016 vice presidential debate, that why did Robredo decide to run, when she said she won't be running for higher posts anymore, and she said she intended to keep that promise to her children, but when she saw how fake news, propaganda, and disinformation polluted the mindsets of so many Filipinos, and she even tried to unite other candidates, but she failed, so she decided to run. She had to do it. And of course, our moderators wanted to ask the same question to Marcos, but again, he was a no-show. Ruth?
Thank you, Anjo Alimario. And when we return, a look at how netizens are reacting to the recent presidential debate. You're watching a CNN Philippines special presentation, The Filipino Votes Presidential Debate 2022. You're still tuned in to a CNN Philippines special presentation, The Filipino Votes Presidential Debate 2022. Hashtag CNNPH presidential debate earlier rose to the top of Twitter trends. Let's take a look at what some netizens had to say about candidates and their platforms. Menchu Macapagal gives us a look. Menchu?
Thank you very much, Ruth. Okay, let's head on over to Twitter. Like you said, the absence of a couple of candidates in yesterday and tonight's debates became a topic of discussion, if you will. And this netizen right here says that the empty podium could actually be a sign of empty promises. Now, Twitter users also took notice that some candidates shared that they witnessed corrupt practices, but really did not elaborate on efforts to stop them. That is what is in this tweet right here. Now, some remarks on labor policies also caught netizens' attention. Some people criticized Montemayor, comparing the plea for higher wages to workers biting the hand that feeds them. And on the topic naman of traffic, this Twitter user right here admired Lacson's ability to give steps towards solving transportation issues and assessing government policies. And lastly, supporters of Vice President Leni Robredo also took to social media their praise of the candidates' projects during the pandemic, saying the time provided was actually not enough to enumerate all of her COVID-19 initiatives. And of course, those are the latest on social media. Stay in touch with us over on our social media pages at CNN Philippines. Back to you, Ruth.
Thank you, Menchu. And we're still here with political analyst Julio Teehankee and sociologist Nicole Curato. Siguro last question ko na lang sa inyong dalawa. No? Unahin ko muna si Nicole. Meron bang particular policy sa iyo na nag-stand out of a certain candidate, kumbaga fresh approach to leadership and governance, which you think will help solve the country's problems? Nicole.
Well, yung parting shot ni Manny Pacquiao about mega prisons for corrupt officials was quite fascinating for me. But I think my final reflection here is how very few candidates actually gave credit to the Duterte administration in terms of continuing the legacy of the administration. I don't know if that's deliberate, if that is a strategy, but to me, it's quite fascinating in terms of framing this election. Is this election a referendum on the achievements of the Duterte administration, or are we a country that is just willing to forget and move on to the next chapter of our democracy? About to be seen.
Thank you, Nicole. And kayo po, Professor.
Yes, there are 4 strategic questions that I wanted the candidates to answer before tonight's debate and in the succeeding debates. No? First, how do we exit the pandemic? Second, how do we rebuild the economy? Third, how do we reform governance institution? And fourth, how do we prepare for future shocks? No? Apparently, because of their experience, no, as executives, Vice President Leni Robredo and Mayor Isko gave the correct answers, no, if I may, no, and of course Senator Ping Lacson. But with regard to rebuilding the economy, I am still not convinced how they will pull it off, no, particularly with one particular issue, that is social equity, no, and that's where Calio, the answers are radical and yet needs to be articulated. So.
Very clear siya dun sa minimum wage, eh, no?
Precisely, no? Precisely. And then, how do we prepare for future shocks, no? The next pandemic, the next variant, the geopolitical issues and the like.
Okay, thank you very much to political analyst Julio Teehankee and sociologist Nicole Curato. And thank you for joining us. Before we go, here are a few reminders for voters as Election Day nears. Be informed before casting your vote. Educate yourself about the candidate's background and platforms. Also, try not to engage in hostile conversations online regarding the May polls. Keep discussions civil and informative. And last but not the least, think hard about what to put in your ballot. The future of the country is in our hands. Thank you for watching the CNN Philippines special presentation, The Filipino Votes Presidential Debate 2022. For more updates, you can visit our website and social media pages at CNN Philippines. I'm Ruth Cabal. Stay safe and good night.